إن الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Everybody, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Inshallah ta'ala, I would like to thank everybody that has come on to watch the Soullutionz podcast with me, Imam Khalil, Imam Muhammad, Imam Malik, along with myself. Alhamdulillah. As we see the topic today is very touchy too. This is something that Imams we spoke about. Abu Muhammad, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Speaking on separating Islam from the streets. And the reason why we wanted to talk about this, because you see us now culturally in the inner city, a lot of us mix Islam with dunya. We mix Islam with our street, with the street code and the street politics. We're to the point where it overrides our religion, right? It overrides our religion. Right? So when we think about it, say when it was said to us to speak the truth even against yourself, right? So that means to be honest, to be upright, right? When we think about how we mix the dunya with that, when it comes to the politics of that, we would say things like, I'm not, we'll lie to get ourselves out of a situation. We will, lie to a judge, right? To get ourselves out of a situation, right? Knowing that we are guilty of something, right? We will lie to our peoples to get over on them. All these type of things, right? All these type of things. And this is what we need to, rid ourselves from, of this love of the dunya, the love of the streets. Not allowing to street politics to dictate how we're supposed to be, how we're supposed to behave according to the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Right? All right. So we got to look at all these things like that. All right. So even when we think about another narration that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that we are upon the religion that our companions are upon, right? So we think about who we befriend as well. Like a lot of times we stop practicing the religion due to, we could say, oh, peer pressure doesn't exist. It does. Peer pressure does exist, right? Because why? The Prophet ﷺ said, you are upon the religion that your companions are upon. So if your companions are out here behaving like this, they're doing these type of things, they're doing this, they're doing that, then we're going to be upon that religion as well, right? You're not going to be the only saint around amongst killers, right? That's something we're not going to do, right? So we got to take in consideration of that. Excuse me, y'all. This little man, this guy is 9:30 at night, and this little guy is still running around, right? So we're not going to be, a saint amongst the people, the wolves. This is things that we're not going to be, right? So we got to ask ourselves, how do we rid ourselves from that, right? One of the biggest healings, the shifa. One of the biggest shifa is the Quran, reciting the Quran, falling back in love with the Quran. Pardon me 1 second, y'all. Pardon me 1 second. This little guy is off the.
اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد الفاتح لما أغلق والخاتم لما سبق ناصر الحق بالحق وهادي إلى صراطك المستقيم وعلى آله حق قدره مقداره العظيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. صلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Afdal wa salatu wa tamu taslim ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Wa radiyallahu ta'ala anad as-sadat tabi'in ulama'i amilin wa a'immati arba'in mujtahidin muqallidihim ila yawmiddin amma ba'd. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to everyone who was watching on Facebook. Remember to like and share the video. Share it to your platforms, and everyone who's watching on YouTube, like, share, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell. Alhamdulillah, it's a very interesting topic. It's a necessary topic because we living in a time where combining Islam with the streets has been something that has been metamorphosed over the decades. All right. From 40 years ago, or 35 years ago, where I come from, Islam is an intricate part of the gang culture, meaning that the gangs instrument things from Islam into their literature, into their lessons and their learnings, right? Something from Islam, like one organization, Street Tribe, they recite Al-Fatiha, or they reuse Al-Fatiha as what they bless the food with before they eat it. I ain't gonna mention the Street Tribe or street organization, but you know what I'm saying. This is one thing from Islam that they use. Another thing, that in prison they make it mandatory for them to go to Jumu'ah. Well, in Illinois, if you go to prison in Illinois, you have to register in your processing that you're a Muslim. So many of these guys, if they're not Muslim, they register just by default that they're Muslim, so that they can go to Jumu'ah mandatory. Because in some penitentiaries, if you're not registered in the state that you're a Muslim in your processing, they'll stop you from going to Jumu'ah. All right, and in order for you to go to Jumu'ah, they'd have to have a meeting with you. The administration would have to have a meeting with you, and they would have to determine if you were Muslim. Right? So in the streets, Islam is not mixed with their activity, right? No, you know what I'm saying. What is normally what is understood is that street dudes know who Muslims are, and the Muslims know who the street dudes are. The Muslims who used to be a part of the gang organization or the street tribes that became Muslim or converted into Islam, many of them, they leave the streets, but they still hold on to certain principles and certain mentalities that's related to the source of their upbringing, which is that street tribe. On the East Coast is something different. It's Muslims in the streets that have adopted the street culture, and non-Muslims that was in the street, they accept Islam, but they never leave their street behavior. They never leave their street behavior. So they accept Islam, but they have this click type of mentality. So anything that is popular, they gravitate towards that popularity of that particular movement or particular methodology or manhaj, that they could still associate themselves with the behavior that they had in the street. If anybody can understand what I'm talking about, if anybody can follow me what I'm talking about. So along with this type of behavior, this type of mentality, we find ourselves being counter-revolutionary by holding on to these uh, uh, by holding on to street mentality or street corner ethics or street codes. Islam, because Islam is not street codes. Islam is not street codes. Islam is not street principles. Islam is not any of that. Even when you look at the political methodology of Al-Islam, it doesn't hold them same principles. It don't hold the same principles at all. So a lot of times we get to a stage to where the two cannot be separated, and that's because Allah Subhanahu wa Taala has not given the servant the ability to have tasted the sweetness of Iman. When Allah Ta'ala gives a servant the ability to taste the sweetness of Iman, that individual, Allah Ta'ala also gives that individual the ability to separate the two. when all of their understandings and thoughts and approaches will be founded and governed by Islam. At that point, any obstacle, any subject, any topic, any issue that servant face, the solution that come to his mind is what Allah Ta'ala and his messenger has given as a solution to go about executing that action or behavior, instead of resorting back to how they will handle things in their jahiliyyah. Because when you look at an individual who had accepted Islam after 25 years old, after 30 years old, right? Or they accepted Islam after 25 years old, after 30 years old, and they even if they get intensify in their learning about Islam, and they advance in their learning about Islam for about 2 or 5 or 10 years, the fact that they accepted Islam when they was 25 or 30 years old means that they know about more of Jahiliyyah than they know about Islam. Especially if they didn't come into Islam and immediately start learning and practicing, right? Immediately start learning and practicing. If they accepted Islam at 30 and they are now in their 50s or their 55 or they're close to their 60s, then they they are about middle ways in their knowledge of dunya, of jahiliyyah, and their knowledge of Islam. If they've been practicing all of them years, but let's say a person, they become, like I said, they come into Islam at 25 or 30 years old, and they only been Muslim 5-6 years, and they ain't been practicing. Not too much change you will see in their behavior, in the way that they look at things, in the way that their mind frame and mind states are. They're still acclimated to their jahiliyyah, so they're still gravitated more towards their jahiliyyah than they are towards Islam. And every action they're judging it by, and they're executing it by how they would have executed and judged things in their jahiliyyah. Are you ready to chime back in, Abdul Mujeeb?
Yeah, alhamdulillah. I didn't get a chance to hear it too much. I heard, briefly, running around after the youngin got me tired, got my back hurting. Here he come again. Nope, you gotta give me another second. Email Khalil, tune in.
What's going on with y'all good brothers tonight? Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. What happened, man? I was waiting to come in on this all fired up energy. Y'all like all slow, dragging and distracted. You know what I mean? But anyway, what I want to mention is a few things, inshallah, where you get to the very root of the source of the problem. And this isn't like one of the popular type of discussions. It actually ruffles a lot of feathers. It was really, if it's something that ruffles your feathers, then it's actually something that's actually good for you. I've mentioned this before. I mentioned it quite often. A lot of times when we, like many of us, we convert, the reason why we don't get the same benefit out of Islam that the Sahabas had gained is because we don't approach it, wholeheartedly. And we're scattered all over the place. We're unorganized, miseducated or uneducated. And so then what happens is, by default, we kind of like practice Islam the way we would practice Christianity, for those who can relate to that. With Christianity, there's really not a whole lot of things you have to do besides, potentially, at minimum, show up to church on Sunday service. Women put on their big hat and their best dress, and the men wear their suit and tie. You go sing and dance, and, a whole bunch of hallelujahs and praise God and those type of things. Islam requires more than that. Islam's not like a spectator sport where you sit back and you spectate. A lot of us, we would love to do that. And this is why we have that type of mentality and attitude. When is the Savior going to come get us? And this is why sometimes a lot of us, instead of us benefiting, from our learned people, scholars, if that's the word I want to use, scholars, we kind of like, kind of take them to be our end all be all, like an intercessor, and so therefore, you pretentiously, base your righteousness based upon who you're connected to versus you being a person of righteous actions. See, that's also another thing. The Sahabas, not only were they connected to the Prophet ﷺ, but they put in all of their effort to be and exemplify that behavior which the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught, right? And see, the thing is that they made errors. Like if you look at the story between Abu Dhar and Bilal ibn Rabah, Abu Dhar insulted Bilal, the same way we offend and assault each other. And Bilal went to the Prophet ﷺ to complain about this, but Abu Dhar offered himself. And the Prophet ﷺ only said one thing about Abu Dhar making that statement to Bilal that was offensive. It was he said that this is from your jahiliyyah. This is from your, pre-Islamic behavior. And he asked Bilal, he put his face on the ground and he said, Bilal, put your foot on me, as a get back, you want to get back at me, please just stand on me, humiliate me. But Bilal wasn't that kind of person. In our times, what we find is because there's no true connection to leadership, and leadership isn't actually leadering, as people say today. Your math ain't mathing, but your leader ain't leadering. There's no one there now to, mitigate between two people where they're having disputes. People are kind of winging it and doing it themselves. So that's one thing that's missing. And the second thing is that internal state that Abu Dhar had, for Islam. The Prophet ﷺ didn't give him a whole khutbah lecture. He just said, this is from your traits of jahiliyyah. These are from your behaviors from jahiliyyah. So a lot of that, we hold a lot of pride in our jahiliyyah, who we used to be, who we was associated with, how we used to think, and all of these things, and it's causing a lot of, it's corrupting our Islam. We spend, and we're doing the best we can. We're trying to do the best we can, in order to move forward and establish ourselves, on this path of righteousness. But our attempts, many of us, are about as weak as a spider's web. A spider web is really weak. You ever walk in an old basement or old apartment or something like that, and you walk and you feel the spider web crush. It don't take much to tear it down. Well, it don't take much for us to go back, to jahiliyyah. Some of us, we love to be caught up in the excitement and the fitna, right? And that was a lot of the experience in the 90s and the early 2000s. Was like the hype, it was like the tabloids, it was like the TMZ of Islam. Yo, you heard with Sheikh so-and-so, he refuted such and so refuted so-and-so, and such, right? And we love that controversy. As a matter of fact, now in the the 2020s and the 20s, our whole hype and controversy is based, our whole hype and motivation is based on how controversial you can be. Let's all get together and let's go at it. Everybody's got a corner now, and everybody wants to go at the other person. Right? But deep down inside, that little jahiliyyah, that little man that's in there whispering to you, the nafs, he's still whispering to you. Right? The same thing, husband and wife. Sometimes the men possess that little man from jahiliyyah. It used to be a thing, like you want to disrespect the female. You used to find the most heinous way to disrespect the female. Pour liquor on her or something, say something disrespectful, smack her. Right? Many men still have that desire to do that. Same thing with women, women don't, some women just can't, chill, be humble. No, I got to get in your face. Who are you to tell me what to do? You ain't my daddy, right? You know, those kind of things. And most of them didn't, you know, a lot of us didn't grow up with that father. So that attitude is like, you can't check me. It was just a figure of speech. All right. We still have that type of attitude. So instead of trying to curb and change that type of attitude and that type of mentality, we tuck it away for later. Right. And so we make up like little mantras or statements such as, I'm half hood and half holy. Right? That stuff is kind of fly. It's cool, you know, but really, does that really describe your characteristic? Does that really describe who you are? Right? You got the I'm Muslim, you know, but I'm also gang affiliate. Right? You have those. Right? You have your Black Lives Matter Muslim. Right? And we ain't talking about just standing against injustice, because Muslims stand against injustice. But you taking on the whole mentality. There's a whole feminist wave behind that. You got the Muslim that's feminist, right? You know, you got all of these things that are playing a part, and it's tearing apart the very fabric of Islam. And this is why Islam, you can't grow, because why? There's a internal love, you know, for that jahiliyyah. Which one y'all unmuted?
No, I'm about to mute it back. Hold on.
All right. So you know you know that love is undying. Then you got that one who has that same behavior of Islam. You know, he has an OnlyFans subscription, right? Or is his subscription to Pornhub and things of that nature, and you know, carrying this on like as if this doesn't affect your deen, right? And that type of mentality. You have the predator that, you know, exists amongst you, you know, amongst you in the ummah. You have that internal predator, you know. You have that one that everything. And usually the thing that sparks it is that little gadget that we keep all the time, is a telephone, a tablet, computer, internet, TV. Keep it in with you at all times, because you spend most of your days on there. You know, they got a tracker on the phones. I know it's a feature on iPhone. I don't know if it's a feature for Android or any other phone. But it tells you how much screen time you've been on your phone all day. How much time you spent on your phone, right, for the week. Or it tells you about your average, right? It tells you about your average time on your phone, on your device. That's how much time. If there was a tracker on your Quran, or give you your screen time, how much time you spent on your Quran, I promise you it'll be a lot less than it has been on your phone. And then you can go in and see the analytics, you know, inside of the app to see what apps you spent the most time on, right? And so then what we do is then we get, you know, we kind of like get high. We get our Islam on an algorithm. It's going up and down. And so this week our Iman is high. So we listen to all the lectures of the Sheikh. And now we coming out and we're refuting everybody. And I'm the great big Sufi. I'm the great big Salafi. You won't follow madhabs, you going to hell. All of these things. 6 weeks later, you back smoking weed again. Same algorithm. Chemos come off in the summertime, back on in the winter. We were at work the other day. There's a sister at my job. I never knew she was Muslim until the other day. And I was like, oh, we got a new Muslimah. Well, you know, we got a lot of brothers there, but we don't see that many sisters. And he's like, oh, no, it's getting cold. She just started covering again. All right? So these type of things, this is reality. Right? Is that the Islam that the Sahabas displayed? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So there's one thing I just want to mention. Here's from some of the words of Muhammad Bello, Ibn Sheikh Uthman Dan Fodio. Muhammad Bello, the son of Sheikh Uthman Dan Fodio. It's in one of his books. It's called Daful Shabbat, Removing Doubt. And so he says that he's talking about imitating oppressors are from the people Ahlu Fujar wa Fusuq, the people of transgression and corruption. These people are Ahlu Fujur wa Fusuq, right? The of transgression and corruption. These would be your everyday people that is entertainers that are on television that are transgressing the limits and trying to sway you and out there partaking and swaying to remove you away from the remembrance of Allah. So he says that imitating them in and of itself is an injustice, a corruption, and great disobedience. It's well known that the one who imitates something is actually inadequate for the thing he is imitating, like the resemblance of a brave man to the lion due to his lack of fear during a time of panic, right? So a brave man confronted a lion at a fearful moment during that times of panic, but you look at him, he may be scared. He's afraid internally. But he's showing he looks brave on the outside because he's still going forward and fighting the lion. So everyone that's the onlooker will say, oh, that's a brave man. So likewise, for those who imitate the people of transgression and corruption on the outward, when people look at you from a distance, they will assume that you're part of that. This is what the Sheikh is saying in simple words. So he says, understand this. This type of imitation, when it is in the outward, is a resemblance which is clear and Allah Ta'ala knows best, right? He said, if you understand this, then know that imitating oppressors is injustice and disobedience, and imitating them meaning dressing in their attire as well. Imam Baydawi said imitation in words means also to have confidence and rely upon them, right? وَرُكْنِ إِلَيْهِ, okay? To have reliance upon them. And if you go to Surah Ibrahim, well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he mentions in this ayah, hold on. He mentions in this, and where the Sheikh is quoting it, it's in Surah Ibrahim, where Allah Ta'ala says, don't have any confidence nor trust in those who are unjust, because then the fire will touch you. So Sheikh Muhammad Bello, he goes on, he says, I say, if it is conceivable that injustice here means sin and corruption, then it is also conceivable for it to mean disbelief as is custom, the custom of Allah Ta'ala in his book. For there are many places in the Quran where Allah Ta'ala uses the word dhulam to also mean kufr as well, right? So then he quotes a statement from the Prophet ﷺ. He said that there's no resemblance, and this is something that's important. And then I'll stop here and open up for the brothers, or for comments or questions, etc. He said there's no resemblance or imitation of an attire, meaning clothing or outward, right? With the attire until there's first a resemblance of the heart to the heart. For all the good, for all the good people who's always concerned about purifying their heart, think about this. There's no resemblance of an attire with the attire until there's a resemblance of the heart to the heart, right? Now, this means that you're only going to behave in a manner of that which you have an internal admiration and love for. That's how you're going to imitate, right? So the thing is that we have to begin to remove these things away from us and have less love and attraction to it. And the only way you're going to be able to do that is by doing what? Gravitating towards knowledge, implementing knowledge. gravitating towards the Quran, implementing the Quran, not just being able to read it and sound nice in your recitation, but also its application in, in applying the Quran as well, right? This is something that's extremely important, especially in our time. We will never reach and obtain anyone of the companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And why did we mention them? Because they were the ones who were right there that witnessed the revelation. They changed their lives. Think about it. Islam, we talk about how great Umar ibn Khattab is, radiallahu ta'ala anhu. But however, Umar was on his way to go kill the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam before he ended up taking shahada. Right? You had many Sahabas who before Islam, they were the enemy to Islam, and then once they gained an understanding of Islam, they started to change their lives. Why we haven't had the same epiphany? Why are we still going in default mode and still being that individual with that bad characteristic and traits that we used to have prior to Islam? So, I'll open up there for the brothers, inshallah. I'm going to take a back seat for a minute.
And repeat what you said again at the end. That was beautiful. Repeat that, what you said.
Oh, which part there?
You're right at the end. Right what you just said at the end.
Yeah, made me forget it.
Because it's a rebuttal, right? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Bel tu'tiruna al-hayat ad-dunya, right?
No.
But you, right? He's saying that you prefer, you prefer the life of this world, the dunya. You prefer that, right? Well, akhiratu khayru wa abqa, right?
No.
The hereafter is better, right? We choose, we prefer all the pleasures of this life, right? And we will fight each other over it. We will fight each other over it, right? Like now we're we have the three type of cultures out right now, right? We can all agree on that. Where is the cancel culture, right? The shaman culture, right? Is the shaman culture, right? Where you can't, there's no accountability. You can do whatever you want, right? So, and then if you shame them, you get canceled, right? Is the cancel culture, and then you have this. What's the new with the manly culture, right?
What's that last one? The manly
where where everybody is preying on wanting to be the manly man, right? That, is the opposite of the independent woman, right? Where it's to the point where you see a lot of men complaining about what women are doing on the internet, right? And all of this comes from love of the dunya, right? All this becomes the love of the dunya. A woman doesn't like a man because he doesn't have everything that the dunya offers. The men are not liking the woman because she's not doing what the dunya is supposed to be offering. And if we have anything to say about it, you get canceled about it, right? And it made me think about another hadith I wanted to read, right? Where I was just looking, I said, "Where's this hadith at?" And it was from the Prophet ﷺ when he said, "It is not poverty that I fear for you, but what I fear for you is that the world will be presented for you just as it was presented for those before you. Then you will compete for it, and it will destroy you just as it destroyed them before you." And this is in Ibn Majah. And we see it all the time now. Right? Just think about how close we are to the end of days where the Prophet ﷺ spoke about it would be a massive amount of killing, just killing. What is the most popular music out now, Imam Khalil?
Drill.
And what does this identifies?
Drilling and killing.
Just killing and killing to the point where they're competing on who kills the most people.
Now, one thing I want to mention, Saleh, just to interject in that. Now, Islam is the solution because remember, the Arabs used to do the same thing prior to Islam coming. Remember, we do ride bars, they did camel bars, and they used to rap about it in the form of poetry. You remember when the Prophet ﷺ got to Medina, and as they were getting settled in, remember the Yahud amongst them in Medina, they used to try to incite the Owls and the Khazraj, who were the two biggest clans, to start fighting. They would say, I can't believe that you're sitting here with the Khazraj when they killed your cousin. I can't believe that you on this date is sitting right here when he killed such and such. Right? So that also goes to show you the evils behind this music. A lot of the breakups and things that we're having now in the hypersexual, in the drug, the drug usage and all those things that are happening is because that's what your music is promoting. You want to understand the minds of the people in today's time? Listen to their music. It tells you their ideology. That is their recitation. That's their Quran. That's their Qira'ah. That's what the mentality is. When a person equates sex to being, basically being like under the influence of drugs, right? I can't stop myself from going to sleep. The lean has got me leaning, right? All of these things that's being mentioned here. This is why you have the zombies, right? Everybody's out here on some kind of drug. All this agitation and all this shooting is not because of bravery. A lot of it is that they're all hyped up, doped up on some sort of dope. Or they've been listening to drill music all day, so they be in the house practicing shooting. How many little kids you seeing getting shot now on live camera from imitating a song, and dancing with a gun in the mirror in the bathroom and shooting themselves or shooting somebody in the other room or shooting someone next to them because of the music is destroying us.
But let me interject with you. We're gonna play ping pong. Mm-hmm. All this was revealed from the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, where he said intoxicants will be in the open. You can walk down Kensington Avenue, huh?
I said Allah Ta'ala says that intoxicants is the handiwork of Shaitan.
Right, and then you see it in the open on Kensington Avenue, where they allow it to happen.
I ain't just Kensington; it's everywhere now.
Well, I'm giving an example of the people in our locale.
Right? That's the Walking Dead right there.
Right, that's our locale. So we can't speak on too much. We were talking to the people that identifying that. So anybody that can relate to that, you understand, right? It's in the open.
Yeah.
That the men would imitate the women. That being nude, that women would be dressed but not dressed.
Right.
Just think about everything that's going on now, Habibi, where we're praising a woman that's on camera licking a man's foot.
No.
You seen that picture, right?
Mm-hmm. I just seen it.
She's the queen of queens as of right now.
Mm-hmm. No.
Right? We're just fornication would just run rampant. She's showing that she's licking a man's foot. She ain't even married. She's just licking this. Who licks toes? A toe licker.
And that's
a toenail jam.
One of the other things that you got to keep in mind with the whole red pill, blue pill thing, the manosphere and all that. One of the things, all of that promotion, if you ever listen, there's one thing that's an undertone and it should stand out to any Muslim, right? What's truth is truth, but a lot of that stuff, about 70% of that stuff, we can't practice it. All of it, the undertone is zina. All the undertone is zina. It ain't talking about marriage because a lot of them tell you, once you get married, your life is over. That's the undertone. So you're listening to men and women that are telling you how a man should think or what he should be like, right? Meanwhile, they're not married, and the only thing that they're promoting is more fornication. There is no peace in zina. This is why you utilize words such as toxic and etc., right? And so when you imitate that, you get the results that those people get as well. So when you imitate a people who's not, how can a married people imitate an unmarried people? When a married person imitates an unmarried person, they end up like them, unmarried as well. So this is what's damaging, our brain. We're downloading this and it's affecting our hearts. Remember, our eyes and ears is the pathway to what? To the heart. The heart, the limbs only exemplify what's hidden inside. And so it goes back to the statement that Sheikh Muhammad Bello, he quoted, that whoever resemble, that you don't imitate a people until there's an imitation within the heart. There's no resemblance on the outward until there's a resemblance on the inside of the heart. So you're only gonna imitate that which you love.
Like it's another example. Like, that the thing that when I'm not going to say the sister name, but what the sister saying in her post a week ago.
Mm-hmm.
How can you be pious and ratchet?
No, she said you can't be Muslim and ratchet.
You can't be Muslim and ratchet. And look at the word that she said. She
give
said
it a little
ratchet.
context. Give it a little context. The context was a post was basically she was venting. All right. That basically, she's no longer like covered like, she's supposed to. My interpretation from this, I don't think she's apostated, but I think she wants to take a break to be able to be ratchet, because that was the highlight of her post. Like, basically, you can't be ratchet and be Muslim. You know what I'm saying? And basically, you got to do too much in order to stay pious. So, I'm doing me right now. That was how I interpreted it.
But then it goes back to who their gods were, right? Who they idolized, right?
Well, because I'm pretty sure you're spending a lot of time watching, all them, housewives. And
let's get deeper than that. What did Glorilla say? Huh? What did Glorilla say?
What did Glorilla say? Is that the one that said, basically, like, don't worry about
being married when you're in your 20s. When you're in your 20s, be toxic.
Yeah, be toxic. Yeah, right.
That's what they're idolizing. I think.
Mm-hmm.
These are the Elias. These are their lords.
And there's a large portion of our Muslim community that's listening. They'll probably look at it, listen to it, and they'll probably leave a comment. This is erroneous. You're wasting your time and things of this nature. But this is who your children look up to. And meanwhile, the whole time while you thinking that you're too good or too pious and that don't apply to me and it's not applicable to me, meanwhile, your children are being schooled and being trained, how to be toxic. That's all. Go through your children's playlist sometimes. Check their playlist. You see who's educating them.
And you're right. And you said, if you want to see the state of the people, listen to the music. We was talking about that at the job. Like, you remember when women used to listen to Luther Vandross, Keith Sweat?
Mm-hmm.
Now they listening to Lil Durk just like the men.
That's just a point. That's just a point to make, brothers. I don't think you should marry any woman that listen to more drill music than a man.
What'd you say? Repeat that one more time.
I don't think any man should be interested in a woman that listen to more drill music than a man.
Right, and she smoked more weed than you. She rolling up, talking about roll up. She telling you to roll up. She's sunning you.
It's really like a back and forth or vice versa thing. Truthfully, but
I seen the car tell you, roll up, yo, roll up. She's telling you to roll up.
So that doesn't fit the demeanor, and it doesn't fit the demeanor of a dainty, a dainty princess, who you should be holding the door and protecting. Shoot, some of these jokers out here, they gonna need to protect you, protect me. Damn, girl, I'm scared. I got you, boo. I got the blicky right here.
She make you go in the store and go get the Dutch, you heard? Yo, go get the Dutch, yo. Yeah, it's crazy out here, man. It's crazy, but it's our reality, man. And like you said, we got to fall back in love with the Quran. We have to fall back in love with the Quran.
That's something we got to create for our youth too. And it's something that we're missing out of. Like and I think as a people, and I'm talking about us blacks on the Western Hemisphere, we've been subject to bondage and slavery, and it still has an effect. We don't have like a push, let's go all the way to the finish line type of mentality. We're satisfied with being handed things. Things don't go right. Instead of us fighting to establish our own. No, we want to stand in front of the gates of the people who don't want you to be there and literally oppressing you and physically harming you, and you'll lay down your body and your soul and your mind on there, or even compromise your Islam in order to get a seat at their table rather than just creating your own table. Nobody's stopping you. Nobody's stopping you except yourself. But no, I'd rather beat down the door and be at the door with them who I consider them the elite. You won't imitate a thing until the heart imitates it. When that heart gravitates towards it, that's what your heart wants, right? So instead of creating your own, no, I want to be at their door. But if you listen to like, this is one thing you'll learn from the outlaws, reading about, famous criminals. If you read their story, right, oftentimes it depends on the perspective and who's telling you, who's telling you what. The criminal is actually the hero. Sometimes the criminal is actually the hero. It's like when you read comics, the villain don't be too far off from the truth. It just be the hero that's just always wide-eyed, happy-go-lucky, let's support everything that's going, and the villain sees it for what it is. And so instead of us identifying with the problem, people always saying, well, they don't be establishing classes, in the hood. Then we have to establish the classes. We always want, we want the shake to float down off the cloud and come zap us over and touch us on the forehead, right? Every time I think if any young bucks watching this, go look up Jim Jones. And I ain't talking about Jim Jones, the rapper. That's actually who he called himself, naming himself after. Actually, it was a New York thing back in the day. If you was a liar and a con man, because that's what Jim Jones represented. A liar and a con man, be like, all right, Jim Jones. That was like they way like, all right, you liar. We don't even believe you, right? But of course, Jim Jones, which you could also flip it, Jim Jones exemplified power and control over people's mind, where they all gave up their food stamps to him, right? All of their little social services money. I think they even migrated to a little island or some land, and they all drank poison Kool-Aid to kill themselves.
Yeah, he's the original Kool-Aid man.
Yeah, the Jim Jones, right? And so, you have that. They wouldn't have followed him if they didn't love and believe in him. So what about, we know the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the best of creation, right? The beloved of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but we're always arguing and defending his sins, right? He forced him to drink the Kool-Aid at gunpoint. Some of them drunk it willingly. But that's Jim Jones. So
but it's true though.
It was some that drank it willingly, but it was people that was forced to drink it. I mean, it wasn't just Kool-Aid. It was Kool-Aid, and it was like volumes or something.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? To put them to sleep, so the poison would take effect. And it was some people that escaped from it. That's how we know the story,
right?
Because it was like 4 or 5 people that had escaped during that ordeal, and he was the 4 or 5 people that they was like confined or locked up in some type of like a porta potty or something, and they got free.
Mm-hmm.
And that's who told the story.
What was like 3,000 people that died or something like that? 3,000 or some of that caliber?
I don't remember the exact number, but yeah, it was.
I forgot I don't know. I think it was Barbados or one of them islands in the Caribbean.
Jim Jones. Yeah, there's still a following here in Philly and the surrounding area of Daddy. What's his name? Father Divine. Lorraine Divine. Some of his followers are still here, so It started as a church of worship. What is it? Started as a church of worship, and then it gradually became were made to worship him. I know most of them Christian based type of movements usually start off like that. It starts Jesus and then it turns into them being Jesus. you know. But you have to begin to separate. The best way to separate that, the streets, and when you use streets, we were using it really in a broad sense. It's not just being used like on some street gangbangers and stuff like that. No, all of that stuff, our jahiliyyah, any of whatever you were into. You got people that's into some, horoscopes, that type of stuff. You got people into that whole gothic look, that with the black toenails, black fingernails, and piercings and spikes and all those things, marbles in their forehead and all that stuff. You got the Super Saiyan anime worshippers, you got all that stuff, man. It comes with a culture. Comes with a culture when you want to be in it. So all of that stuff plays a part. It influences you. You start imitating that and thinking that, and you push Islam to the back. Islam is the furthest thing from your mind. And you only imitate that thing which you have on your mind. You have on your mind the most, your mind and what's in your heart, right? So, with that, brothers, y'all want to keep going, or we can stop here, inshallah.
How you feel about Muhammad? Little guy accidentally wake up again. You got me running around here like a
don't
chicken with my head
forget
cut off.
Saturday, man. Next week, we're gonna try to stream it, man. We gotta find out about the Wi-Fi situation at the masjid, inshallah.
Yeah, because we've been struggle streaming the last couple of years.
Yeah, man.
Especially last year when you had left early after the talk. It was real struggle streaming on my joint.
So maybe since the three of us will be together, we can we get back, everything settled down. Maybe we can have still do a little, even if it's a little short live, a short podcast. We could just talk about whatever. But inshallah, we're gonna try to stream the program that we're doing out in Chicago at Masjid Dawah next weekend. If you're in the Chicago area, pull up on us. I don't remember the address. What's the address, Muhammad? I know it's Harrison Street.
It's 5316 West Harrison Street, Chicago, Illinois, 60644.
And that's on the west side, right? The best side, the west side
of Chicago.
Now,
right off of the expressway. 290.
I pulled up in the CADILLAC.
But yeah, inshallah, definitely. If you out in Chicago, or maybe if you want to just come out there and kick it with the brothers, man, I'd love to see y'all. Spend some time with y'all. Just don't look to see me on Thursday when I arrive. I'm going. I'm letting it be known now. But inshallah, man, pull up on us, man. We'll be out there, the Shah, inshallah, enjoying the brothers out there, the brotherhood. They got some slamming catfish out there, John. It's like fish in Chicago go hand in hand, boy. You know what I mean? The fish in Chicago. What's that sauce again? The mild sauce?
Mild sauce.
You gotta come get some of that mild. The mild sauce is everything. That's like DC. What's DC sauce called? The mumbo sauce or something? Yeah, that joint. That joint pop too. So come on out, man. Slide out, come out there with us out in the Shah, inshallah. But
my man Abdullahi still supposed to bring me some mumbo sauce from DC, man.
Nah.
I'll be on this top every time I holler at him.
No, mashallah.
Yeah, but
don't forget to like and share. We didn't get no likes
Right.
tonight. We didn't get no love
Like,
from
subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the channel.
Make sure
Hit
you
the
share.
notification bell.
Make sure you share, inshallah. So like you said, next week we'll put something up. Look for us on Facebook, Instagram, all that social media. We got our individual pages. Saleh Abdul Mujeeb, Khalil Abdullahi, and Abu Muhammad. He's in Arabic though, so if you ain't got Arabic, then you don't know Arabic, you ain't gonna find him. But he's usually on one of ours. So if you see his little Arabic signature and look for the sheikh, just click on that's him.
One of the things we must encourage, encourage along with encouraging, embracing the Book of Allah.
No.
Embrace the seerah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi
wasallam. Now.
Or should I say the controversial, AKA of the seerah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Mawlid. the seerah events, seerah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam events, Mawlid. You know what I'm saying? But no, for real, but not for nothing though. I'm joking with that though. But in reality, we need to embrace the seerah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We need to embrace the virtues of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the characteristics of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We need to utilize the Shema al-Tirmidhi. We need to utilize the Shifa Qadi Iyad, Talim or Anam or Shehu Abdullahi then Fodio. Taqaddamullah bi rahmati Ameen. All of these mechanisms, methodologies to actually learn and try to implement our character into the character of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So when the people see us, they just don't see Tony, smooth Abdul from 64th and Woodland. I mean, they see Abdullah, Abdullah Bello, being a mirror of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Now.
You know what I'm saying? So when the individuals say they saw the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in a dream, and they saw him sallallahu alaihi wasallam in an awakened state, but they seen him in an awakened state, every Muslim or every believer is trying to implement his character.
Nah.
So I mean that should be one of all of our goals. And it'll slowly remove the baggage that we hopelessly hold on to.
Nah.
I mean.
Nah.
Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun ala mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin bi rahmatika ya arhamar rahimin wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulil kareem. Allahumma salli ala sayyidina Muhammad al-Fatih lima ughliqa wa khatimi lima sabaqa nasr al-haqq bil-haqq wa hadihi ila siratikal mustaqim وعلى آله حق قدره مقدار العظيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام
ورحمة الله وبركاته.